Hello. So I'm at Mount Simon Park, near the disc golf course. I have my spot down there, and there's somebody sunbathing there. So I kind of bicycled up and like, she probably felt violated, and I was surprised someone was there. And anyway, it's all good. No harm, no foul. So I'm here instead. So it's not right on the shore. Shore is a little more inaccessible. And it's windy, but I thought I was going to be in a place sheltered from the wind, because I thought it was from the northwest, and I believe I'm facing northeast. But so hopefully this will be okay for our chat today. All right, let's see. Make sure and you can hear the wind through the trees, right? Chuck was just talking to me. I was at Chuck and Jackie's last night because I was at Father Schultz's cabin, and they live near each other. And Chuck was reminiscing about his youth on a river in a canoe on a summer day, and the wind blowing and through the cottonwood trees, and it's kind of like an aspen or a popple leaf that makes beautiful sound in the wind. I don't think we have those here, but maybe. Anyway, it's nice to have those memories of just, I don't know, feeling one with nature and kind of stopping and enjoying the beauty. And there's a lot of visual beauty. There's also a lot of auditory beauty. I think one of my very favorite sounds is this. And I don't know if the microphone, maybe just hear, hopefully not, but it's the wind blowing through the leaves. So anyway, I got a bunch of parish news. I got some other stuff. There's 13 tickets left for the big express game on July 28th. They just have to know, so to make them available to people that might not want to go. If other people outside of St. James want to use the fan deck, then tickets would be available for them. St. James, I feel I'm a little mixed up today, but hopefully we'll get through this all right. Focus. And so they're $20. They cost $25. We're selling them for $20, helping make it a little more affordable for folks. What's that, a helicopter? An airplane? One of our parishioners flies whenever I hear one of those, I think of Levi. He flies the helicopter for Mayo to go pick up victims of, accidents and things like that, and flies them in. So good to have good people doing that, right? So I often think, is that Levi up in those helicopters? Hope no one's dying, but probably it's something serious. So I'll keep my hand up by my mic so it doesn't make it too windy, I hope. Anyway, so these tickets, they stop being for sale a week from tomorrow. So get them soon if you're going to get them. We'll have a parish bike ride that day too. Not this Sunday, but next. So the plan would be to do a short parish bike ride, leave at noon, get back by 1:30 to give me time and anyone else who's going time to get over to Carson Park for the fan deck experience at the Express game. It'll be fun. Other stuff. Hey, I just scheduled a retreat for the parish, a 2-day retreat at St. John's Abbey. I reserved 8 single rooms and 4 doubles. So that would be enough for 16 people. We haven't gone in a while. It's been over a year. The last one I scheduled last fall had canceled, and I didn't schedule one for this spring. So I had to cancel because we didn't get enough people. So I hope we can get the word out, we get enough people. Last year I was a little shy about advertising it because I didn't want to compete with the women's retreat that was going on same month. So I'll be more aggressive this year. I am buying tickets soon for the, not buying tickets, but reserving airspace for the Holy Land next June. I don't know, I have friends over there, and like my guides and other people, and it seems like the consensus is that as long as the Prime Minister there stays in power, the war might just not end, because they're, so I don't know. We canceled all those trips because of COVID, and then we canceled this last trip because of the war. And of course, the primary thing is the suffering there and the death and just a terrible situation. But also, I just feel it here because of our trips. They're so wonderful and meaningful to people, and I'd go every year if I could. And gosh, it's just hard to get over to the Holy Land. So I don't know. I keep my sights fixed on that, so then I'm not really going anywhere else because I reserve. But I do hope to get away. Not for any more weekends. Well, there will be a missionary coming in August, but there's some priests and I are going to go to a Brewer game at the end of July, and I hope to kind of surround that with a visit to my brother in Madison and some friends in Milwaukee. So that would have me gone, not this week, but next week pretty much. No, not, I don't know, the last days of July and the first days of August. And then it's Summerfest, so that's the big deal. That's our annual parish fundraiser. We got raffle. I bought my raffle tickets today, so I got one of the $100 ones for. They cost $100. That's why we call them the $100 ones. And we only sell 200 of them. Okay, and so the odds are good. Guess how many are sold right now? 39. So my odds are pretty good. And I forget the prizes, but they're good prizes. I forget how many we have to sell of those to break even. We thought last year that people just didn't quite maybe understand the concept, so we'd give it a go again this year. So there's that, but then there's also the $5 tickets, or a pack of 5 for $20. And those are for sale now. I got one of each. I got a pack of the cheaper ones, and I got one of the $100 ones for my godchildren mostly. So, okay. Hopefully that'll pay off. But the St. John's trip, so do let me know about that. I'll start putting in the bulletin and things. So it'll be 2 days. We'll leave early Monday morning, get back Tuesday night, pray with the monks. It's one of the largest, if not the largest, male monastic community in North America. It's if you've done before, like I've done many times before, it's a time to sort of renew and reground yourself in prayer and the Word of God, the way they pray their evening prayer and the Psalms and the Mass. And if you've never done it, what a great experience, what a great opportunity to go check it out. So, and on the way there, God willing, we will visit with Sister Michaela, Sister Judy, Sister Karen, the whole gang over there, who live about 5 miles away from the male community. It's the Benedictine sisters who used to be at St. Bede's here in Eau Claire. So you'll hear me advertise that. Hopefully it won't be too annoying going ahead. Silent auction for the Summerfest also. So we got silent auction baskets. So the baskets are available. You take one home and then you fill it with stuff, and that'll be a silent auction basket. Might be a theme. A lot of creative people out there make lovely silent auction baskets. Thank you to our sponsors. We have different people sponsoring different things, like the beer tent or the kids games, you know, and there's a certain cost of being a sponsor for that, and the sponsorship has gone really great. Some of the big ticket items for sponsorship have not been fully sponsored, but partially sponsored, so we're sort of crowdfunding those. So like the big tent, that is half funded already, $750 out of the $150 or $1,500, and then the chicken dinner, if anybody wants to sponsor that, that's costs $1,500 as well. So, and we have 1,000 of that plan, so that's a great source of revenue for us. The great thing about the fundraising is it's not subject to the tax. So whatever we make in fundraising, we don't pay into the school subsidy, for example, which is a large percentage of our income. So anyway, it's a nice opportunity to make some tax-free dollars. Sunshine days, my gosh, it's going on. It's probably just wrapping up for the day right now. They've been having a good time. I get to watch them from my office window. I put up a little video. They had a parachute with the balls, and I didn't get to be part of any of the religious lessons. I'm not sure what they're teaching there, but it's a lot of fun. Kelly and Beth just give everything they got to it, and she said it's going super smoothly, and an incredible amount of volunteers helping, and it's just a joyous attitude. The one thing that made me crazy this morning with that was I sat out there and they were having snack. Well, what do they call those? Hydrox, those cookies, those cream cookies. They're kind of like knockoff Oreos. Though don't tell the Hydrox people I said that. I'm not, I didn't want any of those. But they had little Dixie cups full of strawberry smoothies. Fantastic, delicious. All the children around me, they didn't like it. Father, you want mine, you want mine, you want mine. So I made out pretty good, but I couldn't believe they didn't like these strawberry smoothies. So, go figure. And Kelly said it was the only healthy thing that we offered all day, so maybe that was why they could sniff the healthiness in it and didn't like it. But anyway, kids are great, they're having a good time, and we are so blessed at St. James to have Beth and Kelly and all the parents and other volunteers, a lot of alumni, a lot of people that had fond memories of being in Sunshine Days when they were little tykes, and all the work that Jan Legge put into that, and her friends, and now they're back. We got Drew, the great southpaw pitcher. He's a college student. Maybe he graduated already, but he came back to volunteer, and what you're a little kid and you got this big college athlete comes and thinks that church is important. That means a lot. So thanks to him and everybody that came back. It's nice. Let's see. I want to make sure I got it kind of mixed up here. Thank you, Spot raffle tickets. Just last Sunday, Christine said so much gratitude in her heart for everybody that showed up after the 10 o'clock Mass last week to help set up for Sunshine Days. Did a quick, Sherry and Don had hospitality, and they adapted their hospitality because they knew everyone would be running around setting up stuff. So they had a huge cookie tray, and I appreciated that, and I think a lot of people did. I should have had two, I had one, and then there was just a couple left, and I grabbed another one. I'm like, man, so I really literally took it out of someone's mouth, but those darn food compulsions. Anyway, it was a lot of happiness. I was pretty washed up, so I headed back. I didn't lend too much of a hand to that enterprise, but I saw the joy and cooperativeness of everybody helping. That gladdens a pastor's heart, Okay, other stuff. So interestingly, I just say this to share, life from the pastor's point of view. So last Sunday, there was that assassination attempt that rocked the world, that rocked our country anyway, and I know it's in a lot of people's minds. So I began my announcements just by alluding to it and really urging people to not throw fuel on the fire. Because there's just a lot of anger and a lot of feelings, just to acknowledge that people were feeling that and to ground ourselves as Christians in love, right? And, we can be people of conviction, but we also always never want to lose sight of love of neighbor, right? So, anyway, I said some things along those lines. And I got one email. Someone was very appreciative. She said, I came with a heavy heart and upset, and I so appreciated you mentioned that, and then the Mass. And so I really left feeling like hopeful, like I could cope with what's going on. And of course, I appreciated that. And then I got a call, and I love it, in the spirit of getting along with people with whom you disagree, very much so in that spirit. It's just someone who called and said, I go to Mass I don't want to hear about it. I go to Mass to kind of escape the news. I don't want to hear about the news when I go to Mass. And so two opposites. So I thought, gosh, that's the challenge of parish life is trying to, because people have different reactions to the very same thing. Someone it inspired, it heartened, and another person really turned off. So and it's election year. So I think, if you've been around, at least from my point of view, you never know what people hear versus what you think you're saying. But I try not to politicize things, and I sure don't talk about supporting a candidate over another candidate or anything like that. But probably, so I have to be maybe careful about how I word things. But generally when I know something's on people's hearts that's really been in the news, just to bring a spirit of prayer and Christian charity to it feels right to me. But if other people have other thoughts on that, I'd be happy to hear. And I appreciate hearing from both of those parishioners that gave me that feedback. They're both great parts of St. James. So the Eucharistic, what else was I going to say? Oh, I wrote the bulletin in terms of the politics. And not that I go around calling people names and stuff, but when we talk to people about politicians or about anybody, maybe about Aaron Rodgers if we have feelings about him. We can, and I suppose you always need some good friends you can just vent to and say whatever you want and not filter your words so much. But in general, I'm going to really try myself when I'm referring to people that I don't like much, that are maybe public figures, to use neutral language. I think I wrote in the bulletin, let's use our education to use words to describe people other than, some sort of vulgarity or some sort of, other kind of word. Just that alone, I think, would help us be a little more civil with each other. That's one of the great initiatives of the bishops this year that didn't get a lot of traction, but I think we'll maybe talk about it a little more in Pastoral Council, and maybe I can put that link back up on our Facebook page about civilizeit.org, sponsored by the bishops. There is Bishop Flores from Brownsville, Texas, Bishop McElroy from San Diego, Bishop Barron from Winona, Rochester, and Gloria Purvis had this really lovely discussion about how the church really should try to lead. If part of the problem in society is polarization, people can't talk to each other, can the church lead in the way of doing that? And one of the tools we have is the Eucharist. So that's the other thing to talk about today. So as we speak in Indianapolis, Indiana, there is a National Eucharistic Congress going on. They estimate, I wrote down the number here, I thought I did, 50,000. Just under 50,000 people plan to participate. It was kind of actually a hard ticket to get if people wanted to go. So there's a lot of things going on there, a lot of talks, Mass, of course, Eucharistic adoration, Eucharistic procession. Apparently evolved out of a poll that was pretty, maybe strangely worded, but it just caused in the bishops a concern that maybe a lot of Catholics do not believe Jesus is truly, really present in the Eucharist. And we should, take some efforts to bolster that faith, to encourage that belief. Again, there's that difference between faith and belief. So it's a belief, it's a teaching in the church, right? That Jesus, you encounter Jesus. It's not just something to remind you of Jesus, but it's Jesus. It's why we have a tabernacle. It's why we receive the Eucharist, with reverence. So that's our belief. And then our faith is how that belief affects our lives. If we have a Eucharistic faith, how does it impact us? So like one of the things I was reading off the bishop's site today said, the goal is not merely to acknowledge what the Eucharist is, but to experience what the Eucharist is. Do we see it as an encounter? So lately, before we come to communion, I ask people to rise, to prepare ourselves to receive and encounter Jesus, encounter our Lord. And I think that's good. Like if a dignitary enters the room, everybody stands, right? Anyway, so then we come up for Mass, and then people have their prayers if they kneel or sit. It's a little too much maybe to add. I didn't want to try it, but my previous parish we did it, and I thought it was great. They actually stand, because I saw them do this when I was traveling out in Massachusetts. Stand until you stand to receive the Eucharist, because Jesus is in the room, and then stand until everybody's received, and then sit down. Kind of a sign of respect, sign that we're doing this together, I like that, but I won't make that a requirement in St. James. But then, of course, a lot of people, we do kneel during the Eucharistic prayer. And that's another form of reverence. People have different postures and different ways that they think is most reverent. And we just try to hang together and be together in spirit and in physicality, I guess, with our Eucharistic. Anyway, I just thought, in terms of not just acknowledging what the Eucharist is, but experiencing it, I thought of three things. I said the Eucharist should console us, it should fuel us, and it should unite us. And you could add it any more, but I was just thinking about it today. I thought of those three things. So it's to console us. We bring ourselves as we are to God at Mass. A sense of wanting to be better people, fervent desire that people that we love are happy, and if they're sick, recover. If they suffer from addictions, that they heal. With our needs. And sometimes we come with broken hearts. We used to always come to Mass with our husband or wife, and now they're not with us. Or something in life I've lost something else in life. And so we want to be consoled. There's the sound of the wind. So anyway, consolation. That Jesus comes, it's himself. It's just like, sure as Jesus laid his hand on the sick, rubbed the eyes of the blind, breathed the Holy Spirit into his apostles, he feeds us with his very self, so we can feel Christ entering us and becoming part of us, and in a way that certainly brings me consolation, comfort, healing. Even when I can't describe it in words, it's like Jesus wants to be with me. He is with me. He's consoling me. And second, and he's fueling me. I can grow strong on Jesus. So we are gathered, and then we're all sent, right? And we're fueled. We're fueled so that we have divine energy within us. We have the very presence of Jesus to help us to love our neighbor, to help us love our enemies even, to help us be civil, to help us be creative in ways that we can serve, in ways that we can use our time, talents, and treasures to serve God by helping the world, so that sense of fuel, we're renewed, we're recharged. Again, I love my friend Sue's, the way she ends Mass. She goes, maybe not always, or their service, she says, our worship is ended, our service to the world begins. Isn't that good? And the last thing, to unify us, So I hope that during this year, when maybe in society the lack of unity will never be more apparent. Is that a water skier? Just a speedboat. That the lack of unity will never be more apparent. That we can come to Mass and we can break bread together, and we know we're all followers of Jesus Christ, and we're meant to grow in love for one another, to experience Jesus' love. But love of God and love of neighbor are inseparable, right? In the Epistle to John, it says, or from John, if you say you love God but don't hate your neighbor, but you don't love one another, you're a liar. Because you can't do that. And when they ask Jesus, what's the greatest commandment? He doesn't say, love God with all your heart, mind, soul, or love your neighbor as yourself. He says both. They ask him for one, but he says both. You just can't separate love from God and love from neighbor, for God is love, right? Anyway, so a little preaching on the Eucharist there. Let's see. The vision of this Eucharistic Congress in Indianapolis is to inspire a movement of Catholics across the U.S. who are healed, converted, formed, and unified by an encounter with Jesus in the Eucharist, who are then sent out on mission for the life of the world. See, I wasn't too far off. I'm in sync with the bishops. That's good. Well, I hope you can hear this okay. It's starting to get windy. It didn't say from the east. It said from the north. Anyway, all right. I think that's kind of what I got. I'll just share a little bit what I got. Yeah. So my favorite story about my friend who has the intellectual disability and suffers a lot. Just a beautiful, innocent person. Good friend of mine. The gospel today was, unless you receive my word like a child, you won't get it. So I'm losing the quote right now, but oh Father in heaven, what you've hidden from the wise and the learned, you've revealed to the childlike. So this is one of my favorite stories. So we're sitting watching a softball game. She's about 9 years old, I think, and her parents went away for a sec, so it's just her and me, and she was eating the people behind us, their peanuts. She would just turn around and take peanuts and eat them, and I'd say, hey, I felt like I had to be the role of the parent, and I felt, I go, hey, I don't think you're supposed to, I think those peanuts belong to someone else. I don't think you should be eating them. And I looked up at the people, and then I looked back at my friend, and she looked at me so puzzled. She just cracked open another one, and she goes, "What?" She said, "I'm sharing. I'm sharing. We're supposed to, sharing is good, right? We're supposed to share. That's all I'm doing is sharing." So with our free market private ownership culture, that's a parable that might confuse us. But I thought it was really the kingdom of God right there. And then what made it great, of course, was I turned to the woman whose peanuts those were, and she just laughed. Just kind of shrugged her shoulders, like no big deal, you know. So, oh, if we could share so easily with one another and have it be no big deal, that'd be great. Okay, everybody, good to spend a little time with you. I got some friends coming up from Milwaukee, so I'm gonna zip back there and have some fun. I'd love to go tubing down the Chip today, but I don't think I'll be able to convince them to do that. I'm gonna make some, I got some blue cheese from the farmer's market, and I thought, appetizer blue cheese. There's a wedge salad crostini I'm gonna try to make. Okay, anyway. Hey, you guys, God bless you. Hope you feel the love of God in your heart this week. If not, ask for it, pray for it, beg for it. You know, it's there, and trust that even if you don't feel it, it's there. And then do your best, and love your neighbor. That'll open your heart to feel the love of God as well. So, pretty sure. That's my quick advice. Peace be with all of you on this summer day, July 17th, 2024.